Good afternoon, everybody. I am Maureen Duncan, the state advisor. Kerry Walls is our state president, and he will be facilitating the session, Keeping It 101. So we are excited for you all to be here. I thank you for those that are on the panel. Thank you for everybody today. We were going to get started. Thank you so much for bearing with us in this technical difficulties. So Kerry, it is over to you.
Yes, ma'am. Appreciate it. So just want to give a full disclaimer. These technical difficulties are going crazy right now. So forgive me if it does start to break up. However, definitely want to thank you all for being on this panel today, to my panelists, to my observers as well. Definitely thank you all for being here. We're excited to have this panel. It's the first time we've done something like this. Definitely just want to be able to spread some good information to those who may have upcoming college students or current college students who are watching this panel right now, just to give a little bit of one-on-one about what it is going into collegiate life, as well as going into Greek life, and how to navigate through activism and all the different types of things. So definitely want to just go ahead and get started. If I could have each of our panelists go ahead and introduce themselves. We're going to go based off of my screen. And so I'm going to go ahead and start with Miss Chloe Edwards.
Hi, everyone. My name is Chloe Edwards. I graduated from Purdue University, spring 21. I graduated with 2 degrees, 1 degree in sociology, and then another degree in developmental family sciences. I did join the Zeta Theta chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated in spring 21. Yes, I have my story on here. But yeah, that's just like a little introduction for me.
Thank you, Chloe. And we're going to go ahead and move to Caleb Smith.
So what's going on, everybody? My name is Caleb. I'm a junior at University of Kentucky. I'm studying kinesiology right now, hoping to do physical therapy. I joined the Ride or Die SSI chapter of Identified Theta Fraternity Incorporated spring 20. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
I think Kerry may be having a bit of a technical difficulty, so I'll go ahead and just introduce myself. Hello, my name is Temple Day. I'm recent graduate at Ball State University. And so I joined the Beta Phi chapter of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated in fall 19. I recently graduated with a degree in political science and finance. So that's a little bit about me.
Awesome. And then do we have any more other panelists?
No, ma'am, I think we're all good with the panelists. Just a brief introduction for myself. My name is Kerry Walls. I'm currently the Indiana Youth and College Division President for the NAACP, as well as the Chairman of the National Youth Work Committee, which is a subsection of the National Board of the NAACP, as well as I'm the Treasurer for the Gamma Rho chapter of Alpha Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, seated at Purdue University. And I'll be graduating from Purdue with a Bachelor of Science in Psychological Sciences December 18th at 2:00 p.m. Definitely excited to go ahead and cross that stage. But yeah, this is a little bit of background about myself. I think we should be good on the connection now, so there shouldn't be no more interruptions. So we can go ahead and get started with the questions. So first, just for my panelists, definitely want to just go ahead and dive into just the collegiate life in general. You all have expressed that you are a part of Greek organizations, but a lot of our campuses hold well over 800, maybe upwards of 1,000 different types of clubs and organizations. So just want to ask you all, what other organizations are you all a part of? And it can just be popcorn free for all.
I can go ahead and start. For my college life, I was like really into all kinds of different organizations. Mostly what I focused on for myself was, since I was attending a predominantly white institution, or PWI, I really wanted to find kind of my circle of people and feel encouraged and just find a space where I felt welcomed and less like I stuck out and more like I was, kind of home. And so I joined organizations like the National Association for Black Accountants. Even though I was a finance major, I had a lot of friends who were in accounting, and the business college was kind of hard to kind of break into. So I did a lot with that. Then I joined NAACP, I believe, my sophomore year. And so I was president for our Ball State chapter for my junior year and my senior year. And then I also joined our Women in Business, as well as being a cabinet member for our Student Government Association. So did a good number of things. I was a diversity chair for the Student Government Association. And basically I sat in on a lot of committees and different organizations, went and spoke with or met with different groups, just to see what their concerns were across campus. Most of what I was doing while in school was mitigating a lot of the politics of the election. And so we had a lot of students who, following the election in 2020, were very just skeptical, very nervous, very worried about, how things may turn out, or there were even some different incidents across campus. And so kind of being there to mitigate, kind of act like a bridge between administration and students. So that's kind of how I went about it. But my biggest focus was just finding groups where I felt like I was really encouraged, and that would help me make sure that I was experiencing the most of my college years.
Yeah, just to go off what Temple said, like I was involved in NAACP, which I currently am still right now. And then, yeah, it was just mainly finding organizations with people that look like me, people that are interested in the same things as me. So when I was a freshman, they had like a little track and field club. I did that for a little bit. They had like a couple meets and stuff. Like I ran track in high school. So I was like, why not just do it for fun? Did stuff like that. Like the universities separate in different colleges. So I'm College of Education. And I serve as like one of the people on the board for like our College of Education. So I kind of like bridge the gap between students and faculty within that college, and like talking about diversity and inclusion, different things like that. And that's kind of just like the main thing. I wouldn't say like you don't have to be a member of every single organization, but one thing is just being a supporter. You can always go out to events and just support and just, donate, different things like that. Like there are so many different organizations on campus. So like I can't be a full-time active member of all of them, but I'm a big supporter of all of them. If I can donate, I do that. If I can just go to an event, I do that. Yeah.
Yes, so kind of just going based off of what they had said as well. I was also involved with NAACP during my collegiate years. And just what Caleb was saying, it's so important to just not getting involved in everything, but also to just getting involved in like meaningful organizations. That's just really important to like make sure, like, especially when it comes to resumes, making sure that you have those ones that you were like really involved in. A couple of other organizations I was involved in, something called the Impact Movement, which is basically like a Bible study, but tailored towards Black students. So just like you guys are saying, like finding those organizations where there are people that look like me, especially attending a PWI, that is so important. So that was really cool. And then also I did an organization called Path Street Team, where we went out to the Greater Lafayette community and found homeless people and made sure that they had resources and stuff like that. And then also too, I sang in a choir called the Black Voices of Inspiration for a little bit. Carrie smiling because he's also a part of Black Voices of Inspiration. But just like going back to what you guys are saying, it's so important to like be a part of things with people that look just like you. So Black Voices of Inspiration, a lot of fun. Purdue has this thing called the Black Cultural Center. So they have like different things you can get involved in, singing, dancing, all that with just people that look like you. So yeah, those are a couple of things I was involved in while at Purdue.
Okay, I appreciate your all's insight. I feel like the biggest takeaway from that section was making sure that if you are wanting to get involved, you get involved something that's meaningful to you, and it's going to actually give back, also important to you as well. So with all of that in mind, you all mentioned all different types of clubs and things that you were a part of. Can you all speak to how you manage your time while you were inside of those clubs? Because I know it's a lot, especially when you add on, activism and things like that. Like, it's a lot. And then let's be real, handling Black people, it's a lot. So, hey, I just want y'all to go ahead and speak to how y'all just manage y'all time while y'all were in school.
Well, for me personally, seeing as I'm currently still in school, so like I'm currently still navigating, I'll just say every day is a learning experience. Really just start with that. But the biggest thing is just trying to plan my day. Like, I know a lot of people say like plan your week out, plan your month out. Like you can have monthly plans, but I'm more of a daily planner. So I'd rather like plan my day out the night before and try to like go based off of that. But one of the biggest things I'd say is just also to prioritize. So like you have to pick like what's important and what needs to get done and what can maybe wait a little bit. Just knowing that some things you may have to put off for a little bit to make sure that other things get covered. But actually the biggest thing is just making sure you know how to prioritize and what needs to be prioritized. And like I said, you kind of learn on the fly as you go. And I think the further along you get being involved in the organization or just being on campus, it'll help you to like better understand how to actually manage your time.
Yeah, going off of that part about that Caleb had mentioned, being a part of every organization does not mean you have to be, on every single exec board or committee or whatever the case may be. Just knowing that you want to be a part and that you kind of mitigate how your time is stretched. I know for me personally, I found myself on 4 executive committees and also in that cabinet position my senior year. So right as I was getting ready to transition out of college, I was going through some of like my busier spells. And at that point I was living basically out of a planner. There wasn't a time that you couldn't find me without planners, stickers, highlighters, everything was color coded. Now I'm not saying it has to look exactly like that, but having a resource, whether you use your phone or you use like Google Calendars or you use a physical hard planner, those are really important. And I would encourage you, and this always worked for me, have it in more than one spot. I know it sounds kind of weird, but if you have a calendar that's up and you have a planner and you have a reminder in your phone, it's going to be really hard to forget that thing because it's going to be in your face. The other part to it is, just as Caleb was mentioning, you're learning in this process. So college is a completely different structure than anyone ever told me in high school. Everyone's like, they're not going to let you get away with this in college. And I was like, dude, you can sleep through a class and nobody's coming to wake you up. Your parents aren't there. Your teacher's not there. Your roommate's got to get to their class. They're not worried about you. And that's if you have one, So make sure that you realize, like, when you make those mistakes, it's completely going to happen. It's not the worst, thing in the world. I had a number of emails that started off to my professor. Hey, I just want to apologize. I had, this happened or that happened. And I would really appreciate if I could sit down with you and just look at some options to, maybe resubmit this assignment or get the content from class or, and remembering to just come in with an open mind is a really big thing, because as you're learning schedules and how to get yourself set up, when you make those mistakes, you just got to remember you're only human, and to enter the space in humbly, because I knew a lot of people who they would get really upset and frustrated because, someone couldn't do an extension or couldn't get them this, and then, would be mad. But then if you just kind of walk into the space like, listen, it was my mistake. Is there any kind of compromise? And then I guess the last thing would just be have accountability partners. I know it's going to sound really weird, but having people that are also in organizations, they'll text you when we have a meeting or you have an event. They'll be like, where are you at? Usually you're here with 15 minutes to spare. And you might be like, oh my God, I forgot. But, just making sure that you have people that will check in on you. I know throughout the course of my presidency with NAACP, Maureen was a big help. Maureen would shoot me a little text message on the side. So even if I had missed the meeting, I was getting, the updates from Maureen. I would check back in with her, and we might have to schedule a time to sit down outside of that. But again, that's the coming to someone humbly and saying, listen, I completely spaced on this meeting. Can we sit down and go back over this? And just kind of taking the time to really speak with the people around you and use them as a resource as well. So I think that's a really good help in terms of keeping a good schedule also.
I think also, just to add on to what both of them were saying, that time management piece is key. And then also too, what Temple was saying, that accountability, even with like your friends. So like, yeah, everyone gets like their group of friends when they go to school. I think for me, definitely my group of friends definitely kept me accountable. Like, even if it is just sitting down, like, okay, I need to do this, and that, like, can you give me a call at this time? Like, of course, everyone has like their own schedules and things like that. But like, if they are able to help, I think it is so important to like depend on your friends when it comes to certain things, especially when it comes to like serving on different committees. And then also too, just being so involved, because oftentimes too, you're involved with these things with your friends. So it like also helps them keep you accountable, but you can also keep them accountable. And then just like going off what they were saying, it's so important to find out what works for you. Like my friend, oh my goodness, she has so many planners and different things like that. That's how she stayed organized. But I had to learn for myself that, I'm gonna lose every planner that I get, right? And so like, okay, well, maybe Outlook works better for me. But just like definitely giving yourself that grace. And then also too, when it comes to making time, also making time for yourself, that is so important. Like I don't really know, well, everyone has like their own faith and everything, but like I knew like at certain times I was like, okay, this is time where I'm going to close everything. I'm going to sit here with my Bible and talk to Jesus. But it's just like a matter of making sure that you have that balance, because like if you don't have that balance, it can honestly, you could spiral out of control real quick, and then you won't be able to accomplish the things you need to accomplish.
And one last thing, when you go to prioritize, you got to sit down and start asking yourself questions like, can I afford to miss this thing or not that, right? So if you have, an event that's supposed to happen or a weekly meeting that's supposed to happen or something of that nature, and you go, well, I know that the meeting will be recorded and then I can play it back later, but if I don't go to this event today, maybe I missed like a networking opportunity. So kind of start to like figure out for yourself what's most important to you, and that'll really help you with prioritizing. I know it took me a long time because I'm a say yes to everything kind of person. I hate disappointing people. I hate saying no. And then I had to realize like there's not 12 of myself, so I can't go and do everything that I want to do. So learning, hey, I want to go to this event to support a friend, and I can go to this body meeting next week or something like of that nature. It gives you a better understanding of who you are, and then it also allows you to take advantage of some really unique opportunities.
If I may comment, I'm an old school. I was in college in the late 90s, early 2000s. For me, when I went to Purdue, and I switched from biology to liberal arts after 2 years, and I still graduated in 4. I had to treat college like a job. I made it an 8 to 5 every day. I lived off campus all 4 years. And I had a plant research lab job. And so I structured it in between my classes and study time in between my classes as well. And I would only do, of course I had to do homework in the evenings, but 8 to 5 was my main homework, work, and class time. And that was it. I was involved in over 14 organizations. And so I had to learn that. And I was a partier. I partied Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, maybe took a break on Sunday. But I had to learn that 8 to 5 was my work / homework / class schedule.
We appreciate the transparency, Maureen. It definitely led me into my next question about just the social aspect of college. I wanted to hear from y'all, but also speak to it myself as far as what was it about? Was college really on the partying aspect? Was it what you expected? Was it what you did not expect? Was it too much? 'Cause I know for me, initially freshman year, I was like, oh yeah, this is live, this is lit. But then, the culture started to die down as I got older, and I was like, okay, I can do this at home now. So definitely not exactly what I was expecting. Definitely the movies hyped it up, of course. But I just wanted to hear from like two of y'all as far as how y'all's social aspect, the viewpoint of it.
Okay, I can go ahead on that one. So I like coming into Purdue, I wasn't really like the party type anyway. So like it was honestly my first like I guess you could say like my first experiences when it came to like parties and stuff like that, like being grown up in the church and all that, it was definitely not a thing. So I think going into it, it wasn't, I don't know. I like came into it, I was like, okay, it is like it's a party. And I wasn't really big on it, like kind of like you were saying, like I could do this at home, right? And like there's not a lot of people like chilling. But I think it was definitely hyped up, right? Because people are like, oh, college parties and stuff like that. But that's definitely my perspective of it. But I will say this though, once you go Greek, when I say the whole atmosphere shifts when it comes to parties and stuff, it's definitely like, I mean, I guess it's kind of more fun in a way because like you're Greek, but I think, yeah, because like even now, just like, or when I crossed, I definitely was looking forward to the parties a little bit more, but still definitely around the same, like I could do this at home.
I will say that for myself, big introvert, I do not like to go out at all. Like it was such a fight with me, like to get me to go out and do things, because even though I was involved in a bunch of organizations, when I did that, just like Maureen said, it was a business mindset. Like for me, it was like I have a goal I want to accomplish. I have these plans. Here's how this will look on my resume, and my personal life is kind of, so I was a person who, I'm the person who gets a very courteous, like, are you going? Because they know that I was going. When I finally was initiated into my chapter, it was like my white sisters had to like drag me out of bed, but they were coming. There were several times where it was like, hey, so and so is having this or doing that, let's go. And it was really about learning how to kind of time myself. I know that I have very, I won't say limited social meter, but I have like a mild, right? So it was about realizing, if I say that I'm going to go out at this time, I'm going to spend maybe an hour, hour and a half here, now I'm going to go home. And so you have to kind of learn how to set some, I'll say like hard limits for yourself, just knowing what you're capable of. And then it's also just about like, when I got to school, I didn't think anything about parties because it wasn't my scene, but also understanding that eventually you'll probably go to one, or you'll, attend a few throughout the course of your college years. And so just remembering to, set the boundaries so that you have like a responsible limit for yourself. I think a really big part of why so many of um, the people that I knew throughout college were like, yeah, I'm going to this or that, or I don't want to go anymore, or anything like that, was because they partied so hard. They're like freshman and sophomore year that they were like burnt out by the time they got to junior and senior. And so it's really just about like learning how to pace yourself, because there will be parties every single year. There will be events, gatherings. Ball State was notorious for having events and always having like free food or something to get kids to come out. So it was always pretty packed. But just learning that for yourself, and really deciding on, do I want to go? Do I not want to go? And if I do go, what do I need for me?
If I could say something, for me, for my social aspect of college was off the chain. I was one that I partied, but I traveled. So I traveled to go to parties, but I was not in Greek life in college. I would go to TSU homecoming. I would go to Ohio for their homecoming. Like my friends was like, we was always out. I went to Jamaica, Bahamas, Philly. I would go to Houston just to be going every 2 or 3 months. because for me, I never balled before till college. So when I got those refund checks, I thought that was my time to shine. And that was my time to live it up. And so when I had my apartment, we always had people over because we always had parties and everything just about every other night. And so it was cheaper to live back in there, divided by two people, it's like $250 a month. It was cheap. But I was able to do that, but then I still knew I had to get my grades and graduate in 4 years. So I partied, and I partied real hard. But I also knew I had to get my grades in order to graduate.
Yeah, I think you brought up a good point with the refund checks. I know some folks go crazy when they get them refunds, don't know how to act. They forget what rent is, they forget what books are. Yeah, so that's definitely something to be mindful of for those of y'all who are listening in. If you do get a refund check, definitely be smart with your money that you're getting. Make sure that you take care of, again, prioritize. So if every time I've gotten a refund, I put like at least 1,000 back just in case financial aid tries to turn around and say I have an outstanding bill. Because no, you're not going to get me. So just make sure that you are smart with the money you get. Make sure you take care of all your books first, but then as well on top of the books conversation. If that book is not required, and if you really and truly believe that you can do the class without that book, don't buy it. But definitely don't buy it unless you have to get that access code for one of those classes. Yeah, I mean, you use your own gauge. Like if you feel like you need that book in your hand, of course you can buy the paperback or that hardback, or just definitely look for rental options first. Like I said, unless you need an access code, if you need an access code, you won't be able to rent it. Unfortunately, you have to buy it outright, and 9 times out of 10, it is electronic, so it kind of makes it a little easier. But yeah, just make sure that you're checking with the professors or the TAs, and asking them, hey, is the book required? Is there going to be homework out of the book or things like that? And then, just gauge it from there. But also make sure you always find at least 1 or 2 people in your classes, because one of them people is probably going to have the book already. So then it's going to save you some money. Or y'all can go half on the ebook, and that way you don't have to buy the full thing yourself. So that's a little free game right there. But I want to go ahead and, yeah, go ahead, Simple.
I currently work for a student loan servicer. I'm not going to say which one. Don't hit me up about that. I'm going to tell you that I have seen loans that are as old as me and older, like people who have 30-year-old, 40-year-old loans. Correct. And some of those loans are owned by different servicers. In 2010, they changed it so that it was owned by like the Department of Education, right? But I have people who on a regular basis were ready to cuss me out because they thought after 10 or 20 or even 30 years, their loans would be forgiven. And that's not how that works. And let me tell you, when it comes to money you get from the federal government, Uncle Sam don't care about your feelings. He never has and never will. I've had people who are on the phone crying because their checks are getting garnished, their taxes are gone, wherever that money is due. If you've ever seen The Pursuit of Happiness, there's a scene where they take the taxes out of his savings account. That's exactly what it looks like. So I tell you this because that money that you're pulling, if it's not, a grant or it's not a scholarship, chances are you'll have some student loans and you don't want to have to be fighting with them. I know that for myself, I had to take out loans before anything. I filled out an application to do like a special payment plan. I filled out all that stuff. I go in and I check regularly. I keep everything updated because the money that, comes due, it looks different now. And as Maureen was saying, it was cheaper to live off of those refund checks and be able to do different things. Now, colleges hit the prices, textbooks have hit prices that are astronomical. I think the lowest access code I ever had to pay for was at least $275. And that was a piece of cardboard that they give you with a printed little access code. That's literally all it is. It's not a book. That's not including the textbook. And by the time I was a senior, what I would do is I would get the 14-day trial that these textbook providers use. At some point, I don't know who told me about it, but I started getting that access For the 14 days, I would knock out all the assignments for the semester, like in the first 2 or 3 weeks of school. And I would not be paying for the book because, like Carrie said, somebody had the physical book in class and I was just gonna shoot them $15 or $20 to look at their book if we absolutely needed it. But 9 times out of 10, we didn't. Once those assignments were done, that's how the professor kind of kept track of your grade. But if you've got all those knocked out, and it won't be like that for every professor, but it's something to look into. Once you got those knocked out, someone who has a hard copy would be your best to go to. But I just say that to say this, then bills are going to come due. And when they do, you want to be very aware and you want to be very strategic about how you're getting that taken care of. Because if you can get free money, great, that's the best thing to go for. But, loans are not something to joke around with. They can get hefty. The interest can go up. Right now they're on a freeze, but this is unprecedented. You probably won't see another freeze on interest or anything like that in the next 10, maybe 15 or 20 years. And like I said, some people have had these loans for twice my age. Some people have called in and they're like, I'm going to die with these. And I can't tell them that, but they're in their 60s and 70s and they're still paying on loans from like I want to say the oldest one that I've seen is like 1950 something, maybe 1960 something. And I don't know how it got that bad. I don't know how, it got to be like that, but it's gone to guarantors and all that and come back and gone and all that good stuff. And at a certain point, they're frustrated with these loans, but there's nothing we can really do because however much you took out, and I will say a lot of that is, graduate programs, especially because once you get towards the graduate programs, those get more expensive. But, if you took out loans way back when and you've been paying on your graduate loans, but not the other ones, or those ones, but not graduate, there's all kinds of stuff. So just be really strategic with that money. If you can, hold on to a little bit of it, that's the best thing to do. But if you don't, if you can't, just try and make sure it gets spent appropriately. And then the last piece is if you don't have to use unsubsidized loans, try not to, because those interests, that starts before you even get your degree. Before you even get that piece of paper, they're like, yeah, you're going to pay on this too. So try your best to try and use the subsidized first, because that'll help you out as well.
Yes, man. We love a good financial consultant. We appreciate it. Absolutely. So for the last few minutes of this panel, I definitely want to switch over to the Greek aspect of the conversation. So just I want you all to briefly touch on, what it was that made you want to join your organization. I can start the conversation. So for me, NAACP was definitely a huge push for me to look more into alpha. I always saw alphas around me through my time at NAACP, but I really didn't know what it was until I started to do my research and things like that. After I had a friend who attended Indiana State, and she was always talking about the alphas and things like that. And so I was like, well, what is she talking about? So that's when I started to look it up and I saw the crest and things like that. And I was like, oh, okay, I've seen this before. X, Y, and Z, kept it going with the research ever so slightly. When I found out Martin Luther King was an alpha as well. All these different types of influential men that I had seen through the NAACP that were also alphas. That was definitely something I was like, I want to be a part of that. And then once I got to Purdue, I just sought out the chapter, kind of just began my journey from there. So it was really definitely, to put it into more of a concise terms, the activism that I saw from the NAACP side and the alpha side is something that definitely pushed me to want to join alpha. I guess say we can go in order. So, or Caleb, you already off mute. It don't matter really. So you got it.
So I was just gonna say, so like for me personally, like when I first came to UK's campus, I know the IOTAs here were like really active. They were doing a lot, and I got mentorship from like IOTAs at the time. One of them was like president of NAACP. The other ones were just doing big things in terms of grades and things like that. So I looked up to them, and I kind of got mentorship from them, which is what made me interested in like doing more research, like finding out more about their chapter and things like that. And that's what kind of made me want to join. But at the end of the day, I just say for like any fraternity or sorority, when you join, just do your research and like make sure you're doing it for the right reasons. Make sure what you're getting into is like I know for my chapter specifically, like we do a lot of community service, we do a lot of work and things like that. So like, you know, don't just do it for like the strolling or just for the step in or like whatever part of that it is, but make sure you're actually making a difference and trying to like, you know, bring people up. Like right now, one of the big things is, you know, trying to help out freshmen, trying to help people navigate through college. So just make sure whatever reason you're doing it for is a beneficial reason, a reason that's going to benefit you, but, you know, also, you know, potentially benefit other people as well.
I will say there's kind of two major pieces to it. First, I had grown up with my aunt, who is a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. And so I had seen her and her sorors and all of her just experiences. She talked about college a lot. She specifically has a photo album, and it is decorated to the nine with pink and green and pearls. And I just remember looking through that as a kid. But in my high school years, when I started to realize that I was more of an introvert, I really started to think, you know, like Greek life would not be for me because I wouldn't be able to kind of go out and, you know, do all the different events and all the different, you know, just kind of being out in the public space. Then when I got to Ball State, I actually just was like, well, let me go and see for myself, right? Let me go to some events. Let me get to meet the chapter. And knowing the chapters on campus is huge. Like, I think a lot of people assume that you join an organization and it's always the same and everyone everywhere. So it's not. Each chapter has their own just way of functioning. Then they have their own NPHC. And so if they have their own, you know, or when they have their own NPHC council, they might have different rules that another university has never heard of, or different restrictions or different guidelines, whatever the case may be. So once I got on campus and really got to understand the chapter and just meet some of the amazing and incredible women there, I was really encouraged because it was like, oh, you know, there are introverts, extroverts, there are people who are really good at business, really good at fashion, really good at, you know, different majors. And it kind of just covered all the corners. And so from there, it was just about understanding, like, going to events and really being out in that space. There's also work that goes into each one of these chapters. And I think when you're looking from the outside in, it's like, oh, y'all go to parties, y'all stroll, y'all know, y'all look cute for homecoming. It's a totally different energy when you're actually a member, because there's work, there's meetings, there's regional meetings, there's international, there's all kinds of stuff. And one of the great things and things that I'm most like grateful to NAACP for is NAACP is a national organization. It has got the background and the support of so many different chapters and members. And so I learned a lot about that functioning, because if you never worked with an organization that has chapters, if you never worked with an organization that is national, it's a totally different guideline than the clubs and organizations on campus. So I got to carry that over, as well as continue that partnership, because our different chapters on campus were really, really big into service. And so just recognizing that what really should, you know, be your focus when you're looking at Greek life, and if you're interested in Greek life, is understanding there's work. It's a lot of business, a lot of commitment, a lot of time. That time management becomes like your number one tool. And then also understanding that it may not be what you expect. So get out to the events, meet different chapters, meet different members in each chapter, and just gain an understanding for yourself and then a relation. And also don't be in a rush. I know that everyone wants to start from freshman year, sophomore year. I knew that I needed to mature more just as a person before joining an organization. And so I did not even look to show interest until I was a sophomore, and then really got out there and put my face out there until I was a junior. And so that was me just recognizing, hey, I need to save up a bit. I need to work on making sure my grades are good, making sure I'm active in my community, because, you know, if you are looking to be a part of an organization, they're doing service, they're doing work, they're doing commitment in the community. putting in time and scholarship. And, you know, there are basic tenets and principles to every single org, and you really need to have those as your own personal. So knowing yourself is a really big, just overall theme for college, especially when you're talking about Greek life. Do not show up without the grades and not having done any service and with no commitment to your community or no desire to, you know, if you show up to just go to a party, just go to the party. Don't wear no colors. Don't just show up and have a good time at the party, because it's work and it's commitment and it's determination. And it's a beautiful and passionate thing to be around so many like-minded women. But I know if ever there was a grade that I, you know, needed to keep up, I was like, sis, come over, we need to study, sit down. I know you took this class last year. We're going to get through this together, because they're going to hold you accountable as they should. And that's really going to be the biggest thing. These organizations are not meant to, and I want to be kind of careful how I say this, but they're not meant to make you you. You need to be who you are, and then allow them to help develop you. Allow them to be an opportunity for you to grow, not, you know, for you to have to grow up. You got to be grown before you get there, which is why, you know, these are memberships for adults. You're in college, you're an adult, so recognize that.
Okay, I can go next. There's so much I can say, you know, that goes into being an adult. But I'll only say a little bit. But I think for me personally, service is super huge to me. So I think like when it came to Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, service, so what Jesus did, he served, right? And so like I use that as my baseline of like how are the Deltas on campus serving, and like how are they serving the Black community specifically, like what are they doing on campus? But like I think that was like the main thing of like, and then also too, growing up as well, I had a lot of Deltas, not even knowing that they were Deltas, serving in the community, especially in the Indianapolis community, which is where I'm from. So that was just like really huge to me, but like serving for the right purposes, right? So like AIDS and different things like that, poverty, young girls, Delta Gems, different things like that. So that was just like really huge to me when it came to joining this organization. And then also too, it's a lifetime commitment. So even though I have graduated, like being able to be a part of alumni chapter, which is really dope, being able to like still be able to make those changes in the community and be able to help different like young women, and then also to just like being able to, like I said, do what Jesus did, right? So that's like my ultimate goal. And so just being a part of an organization that does that in every single aspect, I think that is just so important. Regardless of the program, there's always some type of servitude in that. But I absolutely love my organization and definitely grateful to be a part of it.
And if I may add, Carrie, I am also a member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. But I came in at 30, I think I was 32, yeah, 32 years. I had no idea about Greek life. I actually am born in Germany. I came to America. My father was in the military, so I grew up in a German/Black household. We had no Greek life. I had no idea anything about Greek life. When I went off to college, that was my first experience. And then that's when I saw the different sororities on campus. And then when being involved in the NAACP, of course, there were a lot of them in the chapter. But at that time, I knew college for me was trying to graduate in 4 years. I knew that I wanted to join an organization, and I knew that Delta Sigma Theta was really like pulling at me like, okay, I should be interested in it. However, there was not a chapter for me to do it during my later years at Purdue. So I go throughout life, I graduate, I come back to Anderson, and I'm like, well, I guess that chapter for me. And actually, one of my NAACP, I tell you, I say my kids, but one of my students at Ball State, she actually reached out to me because she was a part of the Anderson-Muncie alumni chapter and was like, Marina, are you still interested? I know you've always had a drawing to Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. Are you still interested? And it was her that got me more involved and thinking about, okay, maybe I still can do Greek life at 30 years old, 32 years old. And so I did. And now I've been a member since 2013. And so it's been phenomenal for me because this is what I've been doing already in my community. I've been doing community service. I've been doing these things in the community. So aligning myself and becoming a member of Delta was just natural because this is everything that I'm always doing anyway. So it was still a rough process because it's still, it's interesting that I did it later in life than while you guys were in college.
Yeah, one thing I want to just briefly add to this whole section is whenever you do go off to school, if you are interested in Greek life, the biggest thing here is to do your research. But also, like Temple said, don't just come to stroll. Caleb said it as well, don't just come to stroll. I'm just going to be out here and be social because we are out here working. So if you're not ready to work, don't even express interest. As well as within your research, make sure that you find out how much it costs. This ain't for free. It's not free initially, and it's definitely not free when you get in. So definitely keep that in mind when you are, wanting to pursue and things like that. Make sure you have your grades and your research together, and especially your money together. Because without those three things, you're not going to get very far. I'm just be honest with you.
It's not cheap, Carrie. Let's say that.
No,
it's not cheap.
No, it is not. But I actually had a second question about that. Completely forgot what it was, but that's okay. Go ahead, Temple.
Just to add on to that, when it comes to showing interest in an organization, just be mindful of the fact that you need to do so in a respectful and discreet way. And when I say that, I don't mean so discreet that you're not showing up to events and nobody knows who you are. I mean to, do research about an organization. You're going to have to look at their events, attend events, the people that 9 times out of 10, I guess that might be a little bit overstated, but a good portion of the time, you'll know people that are part of Greek life in one way or another, whether it's your classes or the organizations you're interested in, because members of Greek life, their percentages for community involvement, for organizations, all that stuff, those numbers go up because that's what they're interested in. That's what, we work so hard for. That's what we are passionate about. So go out, find what you are passionate about, and usually you'll find someone who's a part of Greek life who's also passionate about it. That is a great way to get to know members in the organization you may be interested in, as well as learn about just different things that they are participating in. There are different service projects or opportunities come up, take advantage of those. It's not just events and parties where it's great to meet people, it's service. Service is, usually when you are planting trees together or sorting through pounds and pounds of food at a food bank or clothes at a different volunteer opportunities, that's where you get to have those real conversations and get to know people. And then as far as, them saying it's not cheap, it's not. You'll have to keep that in mind. And so that's another thing just with budgeting and everything like that. If you're really interested, take the summer to really save up, to work, and make sure you're just keeping yourself accountable with that, because college is the time where you can get a lot of FOMO. Don't let that discourage you. It's okay to put some money back and decide not to go to one thing or another, just to give yourself a little bit of leeway.
And just a pro tip, if you're trying to figure out somebody who's Greek, look for the keys. 9 times out of 10, they got a lanyard. Look for a T-shirt on one of the days of the week. Look for the wristband. Y'all got your wristbands on? You feel me? So yeah. So that's just a pro tip. Look for those types of things. That'll let you know. Sometimes they don't have them on. Not everybody does wear their paraphernalia out. Just be mindful of that. But social media is definitely a big help in all aspects now. So just find that figure out what the chapter's name is that you're interested in, and find their Instagram page. If you can't find their page solely, or if you're having a hard time, look through your school's organizations page, go through that and try to figure out what the chapter name is, and see if their Instagram handle, Twitter, whatever is attached there, or find your campus's NPHC page. 9 out of 10, they have at least one post that they've tagged that chapter with. So, just use that to try and figure out what the chapter is, how to get connected. And like Temple said, discretion is key. Shouldn't nobody know what your interest is, not even your parents, keep it under wraps for sure. It's just a matter of keeping your business in the house.
But I will say, Carrie, for the alumni, I have young ladies all the time. I actually am talking with a young lady now that's interested in the alumni chapter, and I tell her it's completely not opposite, but you need to let us know you're interested. Because our cities, we have 50,000 plus people. So how am I going to know you're interested if you don't, you have to speak up. And then for us, the alumni chapter, I think we do a lot of, I don't know if I should say this, but making sure you have your stuff together before you even think about applying, if that makes sense. Does that make sense? And so we want to make sure you for success.
Yeah, that's a very good point. You got it.
One thing I will encourage you to do is, if you're thinking to yourself, well, I don't know, what would people think about me? What would someone think about? Do almost like an incognito tab on Chrome and Google yourself and research yourself. See yourself from how other people would see you, right? Check your social media page. Go through, because if you got that one video from that one time your freshman year, somebody else is probably going to have that one video that one time for your freshman year. And I know that sounds really crude, but it's just this idea of these organizations have withstood more than 100 years. These are organizations that have put in time. There are decades and decades of them. And the reason being is that they do their research just as much as everybody else. They're looking to the longevity and perpetuity of all their organizations. So they're looking for people who they can trust, who they know will put in the time and the effort and the work to make sure that they'll uphold the organization just as much as the next member would. So in that sense, do a little research on yourself. If you know that there's some imagery you need to clean up, or there's some things you need to refine, maybe that's something to look into, not just for an organization, but a lot of businesses now, if you're looking for a job after college, they'll research you. They want your tag, they want your handle, they want your website, they want to know, are you on Twitter, are you on Instagram? And so it's kind of like just a good idea in general to see how the world sees you, because you may not even know how you may present yourself or how you may seem to yourself, but you want to make sure that you're setting yourself up as a great personal brand. I know Maureen talked to us about it a lot, making sure that your personal brand, who you are and how you look, is up to par, because that's what everybody's checking in on. And that's a major part just of how you'll operate throughout the world. So that's a big thing.
I had a Facebook question. Can you join after graduating college? Yes, but some of the same rules apply about GPA. Unless you are 10 years removed from college, the 2.75 GPA. I just brought in 7 young ladies to the Anderson Muncie alumni chapter, and one of the members was in her 60s. So there is no age limit or whatever with the sororities and fraternities. As long as you pay your money, you learn your information, participate how you're supposed to participate. Age is not a factor, but the GPA and some of those are a factor depending on when you graduated and things of that nature. How do you find alumni chapters in your area? Well, you can Google, you can look on the national website and search your state, and then they can help you find the alumni chapters and collegiate chapters in your respective state. The great thing about Indiana, we are a small state, but most of your major cities have alumni chapters. The only Greek sorority or fraternity is Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated for the Anderson Muncie alumni. There is no other Greek organizations that are alumni in this area. But of course, the other major cities, you do have all majority of your other Divine Nine organizations.
One thing I wanted to add to that, and feel free to let me know if I'm wrong, depending on your organization. But if I'm not mistaken, all 9 organizations, in order to join an alumni chapter, you must have a 4-year degree. Now, making sure everybody's concise on that.
That is correct.
Yeah.
But the
Okay,
GPA also matters for alumni chapters.
Yes. Were there any other questions from Facebook, Maureen?
No, that was it.
Okay.
Carrie, can I go ahead?
So Ever, go ahead. Yeah, for sure.
Okay. I know you guys are talking about alumni chapters. So I definitely just want to add that the culture, like even though I haven't been in the alumni chapter for that long since I just graduated, the culture is definitely different from undergrad to alumni. Different, not in a bad way or anything, but just be prepared. Like, of course, you're going to put in the work for undergrad, but you're also definitely going to be putting in the work for sure for alumni, especially when it comes to like bigger communities. Because like I went from Purdue to Anderson Muncie, just like serving on committees and things like that. But just being prepared, like just understanding that the parties and stuff, that's definitely for undergrad, just being like transparent. But just like being ready to put in that work and actually like serve the communities when it comes to alumni chapters.
That is a big point. I think a lot of people assume that when you graduate and when you're out of undergrad, that the work stops or you're just a member. It does not work like that. It is, if not more, because you have a bigger community of people. You have to think you go from campuses with, tens of thousands of people to cities that have hundreds of thousands. So you have a larger community, a lot more people in need, and, being a part of that bigger chapter, there's more that they have to do as well. So just keep in mind, like, this is, again, like Chloe was saying, it's a lifelong commitment. The reason that you join this organization is because your whole life long, you want to promote scholarship, you want to promote service, you want to promote sisterhood or brotherhood. And so that's important. And like Maureen was mentioning, it's different from undergrad to grad, but just remember to be respectful, and no matter the circumstance, because that's really going to be, I have had, and they were usually freshmen who didn't know anything about Greek culture, but I have had people come up and go, I want to be a member of your organization. What should I do? That is not, or I'm going to be a member of your organization. What do I need to do? That is not a respectful thing. That is not, if you want to learn about the organization, if you have interest in the organization, that is absolutely, absolutely understood. But it's just about going to understand, like, there are events, there are service opportunities, there's research that you can do. There's just a lot of ways for you to really participate and to show your interest, show your passion, show your commitment. Because if you come up, and you're looking to join an alumni chapter, but then you haven't, looked into any service opportunities that we present, or you haven't looked into any contributions that we made to the community, usually somebody will ask, oh, well, what event did you like? Or what, service did you attend or something like that, just to kind of see who you are and get to know you as a person. And if you don't know any of those things, that's I know it's been really popular, the big red flag. That's a red flag. That's like 15 of those. So just keep that in mind, that these chapters, both undergrad and alumni, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of commitment. You get the joy and the beauty of having so many people who are dedicated like you, but then people are also going to call you out about it. And they're the people who are like, hey, we're going to plant trees Saturday morning from 8 to 12. Do you need a ride? Or you want me to grab coffee? What do you want to do? Because you're coming. So I just wanted to go ahead and confirm. So that's just something to keep in mind as well.
Okay, good info for sure. I just want to take this time, as we're coming to this close. So just if anybody has any final words they would like to say to those who are listening, coming into college, or if they're looking at the Greek life, you can speak to either side, but just give it about a minute each, just to speak to whatever it is you want to speak to.
I can go first. I think for me personally, it definitely stay grounded in your beliefs. That is so important. Like everyone, like I said earlier, everyone has their own belief system. But finding out what that is and stay grounded in it, and don't release it for anything, right? Like I believe in Jesus, right? And I refuse to release that for anything, like regardless of what other people have to say, but definitely stay grounded in your beliefs.
I would just say the biggest thing for me would just be don't overstretch yourself. I'm always remember to make time for yourself, make time for just like Chloe said, like your beliefs, things you believe in, and staying grounded in that. But just remember, you don't have to be involved in everything. You don't have to go to every party. You don't have to be on every e-board. Even after Greek life, like there's still you don't have to be out at every single party every weekend or every time. There's something definitely. Don't overstretch yourself. Remember that the main point of going to college is at the end of the day is to get an education, is to get a degree, and finish in 4 years or 5 years, however long it takes. But just don't overstretch yourself and remember to make time for yourself throughout college.
Just be patient and be kind with yourself. College is a completely different experience. So it's going to be a lot of learning. It's going to be a lot of dedication to picking up the pieces when you fall apart. And then also just remember to kind of take it all in, take a deep breath. College is a new experience and you deserve to, get out there and enjoy it. But don't be so hard on yourself. I think that's a really big thing. You'll make mistakes, but you'll also learn. So you're kind of failing forward, if you will.
And if I may add, enjoy every moment. You can only go through college one time. And though I might have made a lot of different mistakes as far as being more aware of the finances, I would not change my college experience for anything in the world. That really allowed me to see there's more to life than the surroundings that I was involved in. And so being able to travel internationally at 18 years old and some of the things that I've done, it was because of my college years. And I'm so proud that I was able to do that. And then get into Greek life after icing on the cake. I was able to experience the full college time, the full thing, and then become a part of an organization, which I'm very, very involved in. And so I appreciate that. And then I've got to know all of you guys on the panel as well over the years. And so that has helped. And so I just ask you, everybody, to enjoy the college time because you only can do it once. And I have best friends to this day that I now have new nieces and nephews of their kids because I had those times in college with them. So.
Yes, it definitely goes by fast. Absolutely. So yeah, appreciate everyone being on here for this panel. This is definitely dope. Looking forward to doing this again. To y'all who are still, Kayla, still in school, wish you the best. Absolutely. Chloe and Temple, definitely wish y'all the best in your careers and everything. Maureen, I know you said, so I know you're gonna keep it pushing for sure. To all of our viewers, definitely appreciate you all for tuning in. If you have any questions, definitely reach out to myself or Maureen, and we can get you in contact with any of our three panelists that we have here. If you have any questions about anything, whether it be college related, Greek related, Simple, we're going to plug you as a financial consultant. I ain't gonna hold you. So we definitely be on the lookout for any type of questions like that. But yeah, we appreciate you all for being here again. Enjoy the convention if you are still staying. And panelists are free to go. They just have to, end the live stream and all of that. So yeah, y'all are good.
All right, thanks, Carrie.
Absolutely. Appreciate y'all.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.